What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Thunderburst SMG in Chapter 5 and whether or not it got nerfed in the most recent update. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below which SMG you think is better between the Thunderburst SMG and the Hyper SMG. So if you guys were unaware, with this week's update, the audio or something changed with the Burst SMG, and it felt like it was shooting slower after the update. I myself thought it was shooting slower, and also saw other people kind of post this independently that don't watch my streams or content. And when I was streaming, a lot of people in chat kind of said they thought it was shooting slower. When I posted a video about the update, a lot of people said they thought it was shooting slower, been asked about it. So there is, a decent amount of people out there that thought this weapon was impacted by this week's update. I also saw a lot of people saying the burst is now only shooting 2 shots per burst, which is just not true at all. You'll see on screen now, you can clearly see 3 damage numbers pop up when I shoot this player, and the ammo counter is still going down by 3 every time you shoot a burst, so that was not changed in this week's update. There are times where maybe you end up with a weird amount of bullets in the magazine if you interrupt the burst or whatever, and in those instances you might get a burst that only has 2 as the final one in the mag or something like that. But for the most part, this weapon is going to be shooting 3 rounds every time you pull the trigger. Next, to see if the fire rate changed at all, I took an example of me shooting the burst before this update from one of my older streams, and then after the update, I went into a custom game and shot a magazine of the burst out, and then I synced them up side by side, and I'll have that playing on screen now. The left side is pre-patch, so that's the old gameplay. The right side of the screen is after the patch, and I trimmed both these clips to start at the final frame where the weapon has 27 bullets in the mag, so it's the moment they start shooting. And I went through frame by frame, and there was only one frame where the ammo counter didn't match up perfectly, and I think that if there was any kind of actual change to the fire rate of the Burst SMG, and it was an actually noticeable change, a decent impact to the fire rate, there would be more than just one frame where they don't match perfectly. The in-game stats also didn't change with this update, but I had seen people say that maybe the fire rate within the burst remains the same, but there's a delay between bursts now. If there was a longer delay between bursts, you would notice it in this kind of comparison side to side, and I feel like they would start to get out of sync more and more the longer you shot the weapon. Maybe they would start somewhat close, and then as you got towards the end of the mag, you would see a large difference, but that's not the case. So I think that nothing with this weapon changed, and it's just an audio difference, and then for some reason the audio sounding different led a lot of people to think that the weapon got nerfed because, as that side-by-side comparison footage shows, they're basically the same still, and even if there is a difference, it's so minor that it doesn't get shown going frame by frame in a 60 FPS recording. So I think if there is a difference, it's pretty negligible and irrelevant, and that the weapon is still shooting the same way. I also haven't seen any news account that covers weapon data like this talking about the Burst SMG at all. And I follow several of these accounts and, kind of keep up with what they're posting. So I think, again, if the Burst SMG, a relevant weapon in the meta, got nerfed right before FNCS, these accounts would be covering it and talking about it, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I think the Burst SMG is, untouched. It's still really good, and in-game using the weapon since the update, I still very much enjoy using it, especially in build mode. This update also buffed the Hyper SMG by improving its bullet spread, meaning that it won't be as random as it was before. The larger the cone of fire is, the more area your bullets can end up going, and so the smaller the reticle, the less random the weapon, the larger the reticle, the more random. And so the reticle isn't going to get as large as it would before when you're just spraying it. And that's, a nice change, but it doesn't really change how I feel about this weapon and how I feel about the SMGs, especially when you consider the burst is 100% accurate when you have the laser sight attachment. Even if you don't use a scope on your burst SMG, if you have the laser sight attachment, it's perfectly accurate when you fire, whether you're aimed in or hip fired. So the fact that the Hyper SMG got a little more accurate still isn't as good as the Burst SMG's total accuracy, so I still think the Burst SMG is going to be much better than the Hyper SMG. The only kind of time where the hyper SMG would maybe be better is if you were just like kind of barrel stuffing the opponent in close range and you just wanted to like have an easier to use weapon. In that situation, the hyper SMG could be better, but I don't think that's really a time where you want to be using an SMG anyways because of how good the auto shotgun is. The auto shotgun would just be a better choice in that type of situation, I think. So even after the buff to the hyper SMG, I think it's probably still my least favorite weapon in the loot pool. I still think the burst SMG is the best SMG in the game. I still think the burst is really good. And even if we ended up in a pump meta where you had to worry about using a pump shotgun and then swapping to an SMG or some sort of spray weapon, I still think I would really like pump burst and then like cycling between them much more than I would like pump and then like go to the hyper SMG to finish them. It would kind of be a difference of playstyle and whether or not you want to worry about actively like swapping back and forth. But if we do end up in a meta where the pump shotgun is better than the auto, I think the pump burst combo will be really good unless they end up nerfing the laser sight attachment on the burst, which is something I thought they would do with this update. It was something I checked right away because I find it hard to believe that the burst SMG being totally accurate with the laser sight attachment is actually intended, but you know, maybe it is because they put out a major update and this wasn't addressed. But that is going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments below. I just wanted to make a video about it because I was getting asked a decent amount if the burst SMG got changed in the update or if it actually did get changed or what's going on there. I don't think it got changed at all. I still think it's really good. I'm going to let some gameplay play out using the burst SMG since the update went live, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. On the ARs was not like as big of a deal to me as it was to other people because I sniped so much. He's behind my car I pulled up in. That was tragic. I had that lady quite weak. I don't think they're very good. It was just like kind of an awkward situation, and the grenade NPC was like quite beneficial there. No sprint. I'm just gonna push him. That was such a struggle. I kept like ending up in spots where I like couldn't move my character. Like I tried to snipe him there, but because of where I was standing on the rock, I was like sliding down the rock as that was going on. Like, I don't know. I'm not even sure if I was gonna say I didn't know if I took any damage versus him, but I think I did a little bit. But I was gonna say I think his NPC did all the damage to me. But yeah, so like the ARs are projectile, and so you have to worry about leading your shots. But I feel like within like 50, 60 meters or prior, it's not the biggest deal unless they're like shockwaving or like flying or something like that, you know? And then anything past that, I just would rather snipe. Like if somebody's down here, then like I could AR them, no problem. But also I'd rather peek for a fraction of a second, throw out an insta-kill, and then get back into cover, you know? Like with how good snipers are, I feel like the ranges I want to use my ARs at are just like not, like, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm just like not that concerned about using the ARs. Because the sniper upside is so large, and then the downside is like less because you don't have to peek for as long. And then those final two players were AI, but I just wanted to hip fire them from super far away to show how busted the burst SMG still is. I don't think it got changed in the update. The audio sounds changed to me, but based on testing I did, like I think the fire rate of the weapon was completely unchanged, and the burst SMG is still really good.